The program is still this morning on ITV, bringing us to our first discussion segment, and as usual, we take a look at the aviation. And of course, most time you see us with this miniature of Boeing 737 to look at various aspects of the aviation. This time around is part 5 of environmental impact of aviation. We have done that for the 5th week now. And of course, your usual is a man who has touched so many lands when it comes to aviation programs and events. He also doubles as a licensed estate surveyor and valuer, Mr. Goddy Ike, the #1 aviation freak in Nigeria. Very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And how was your weekend?
Well, beautiful, and yours?
Oh, wonderful as always. Yeah. My dear viewers, please welcome to the program.
You know, before we delve into what we have today, which is environmental impact of aviation part 5, let's take a quick look at what the federal government has done when it comes to the payment of fan staff of about approval to pay fan staff, and that approval was given at the last Federal Executive Council meeting to the tune of 42 billion naira.
Joe, it makes sense. There shouldn't have been any reason on the surface of this earth that those kind of debts should have been accumulated for so long. It smacks of financial irresponsibility to run a nation that owes its workers. The essence of economy is getting people working, earning their livings, living well, and feeling good and happy. That is the beginning and end of everything that you're doing in an economy. Nothing more and nothing less. And so, it's my thumbs up for government to, make a, by the way, in all fairness to the current regime, they didn't accumulate this bill.
Sure.
All the regimes did.
But they inherited it.
They inherited, and so one would say, keep it up. It's good job, and possibly clear all the backlogs, and then set this nation on a path of honor and a path of predictability. That's the only thing that can get investors to come in. Your colleagues in Ataka, the aviation correspondents, planning to have a seminar in 2 days' time on Wednesday, and they want to find what can we do to attract investors. As a matter of fact, by special grace of God, keeping us alive and healthy. I'm presenting a paper on that day at at NAF Center, 10 o'clock Wednesday.
Wait. Joe, can we get a tea? What can we do to attract business in the aviation?
I have just said something that anybody who does not understand how business work would take for granted. Predictability, financial responsibility, training. An investor wants to go to where he would make money. No investor comes in to play
to throw his money around,
and throw his money around and walk away with some losses. You need to really, the business of government is to put the appropriate environment, enabling environment in place, put the legal framework in place, and a legal framework that is trustworthy. And then the doors are open. You see a floodgate open to let investors in. I keep saying this to anyone that bothers to listen, Joe, that our biggest problem in this country is the level of lawlessness we have allowed as a people.
But from what we are seeing, it's no longer business as usual.
That's correct.
But
that's why.
Away from that is the issue of concessioning of Abuja and Lagos Airport, and of course we've seen that the fan workers are already complaining, and they say that they will embark on on protests, in fact, shut down the airport?
I do understand how they feel. But you see, there again, it's all part of the planlessness that precede, our actions in government. Before the reason they will be doing what they are doing or making the threats that they are making now is because they feel threatened. They feel uncertain with their jobs. And that's understandable. But then, if we were to do things properly, as soon as the idea was conceived in government, the first and foremost thing to do would be sensitization. Moving into those various groups in that sector, begin some rounds of training during which information will be slowly and nicely filtered into their system to understand that, listen, the reason we are training you, the reason we are giving you this exposure is for you to move from one level to the other. And in the process of moving, we will need some assistance from experts. And so we are going to be calling in experts to help us build this sector, because we have a great potential in this country to conquer the whole of African airwaves. We do as a nation, and then as a matter of fact launch out into the world and get a good chunk of the opportunities available in aviation out there. But in our usual way, we do not plan well, and so that is the response you get, because the people in question, nobody probably said a word to them, and nobody assured them or at least gave them a hint what to expect.
Yeah, but do they have the right? Do they have the right to shut down the airports?
Well, industrial action is not a crime, Joe. Industrial action is not a crime. If they are not happy with their employer as a legal union, under a legal union, they can stop work, and they can. I mean, what's shutting down?
No. The idea basically is the fact that government, for some time now, have sold so many, what do you call it now? Establishments. Yes, that's correct. Or owned by it, and it didn't make any difference. The NITEL stuff is there, the PACN is there, we can go on, and there is nothing to show.
Joe, that's why
that there's an improvement from what we have and what we now have.
I do understand all of those, Joe, and that's why those that are listening to us and watching, if you find time, please be at NAF Center on Wednesday. I plan to release comprehensively what went wrong with Nigeria Airways. You're asking to know how we can attract investors. Well, we must know first of all what happened to the awesome airline that we were all proud of at the time.
At the time that it has the best pilot in the world.
That's correct. And then we watched it go down, and no one was held accountable. An airline that had over 30 aircraft in its fleet, and just 10 or 15 years ago, the Emirates came up with 2 aircraft. 2. They started with only 2, and today they are the most successful and largest in the world. Now, I'm going to be describing the Nigeria Airways that we knew, and then the Emirates that we know today. All right, and then leave my listeners to answer the question about how investors can come. So Joe, if I have the opportunity,
away from that, let's come back to the subject matter, which is the environmental impact these can cause. Part 5.
Part 5. All right, let's go to clip 1, please. We've got just a few clips to round up. We're looking at.
We've got 5 clips today.
About 4 or thereabout, just to round off quickly and then conclude this discussion we are having on the strike action going on.
We'll come back to that.
Yes, I'm very much interested, so that those that are in authority must know that sensitization is part of the deal. It's in the equation. Before you carry out actions, you go in.
But even as we discussed that, your protests, what effect will it have on the plan government already had?
Well, it's not good,
because we have seen workers at different establishments in the time past protesting, and they're still protesting.
Well, Joe, yeah,
it's never had any impact on government.
That's right, because of the insensitivity that we go on with. But you see, we can't run our nation like this. We can't go on this way, Joe. We've got to bring this to an end and join the league of very responsible and serious-minded nations. It is. I hope it happens in my lifetime. It's my dream. This is what I'm looking out for. We cannot go on this way. We must do things according to good plans. And work out on paper what we want to achieve at the end of the road before we even take off. That's how serious-minded people do their things, and serious-minded nations do their things, and get results achieved. We do things so haphazardly here that we are only reactive. We do not go ahead of time to anticipate what may happen and then take care of them before they happen. We only react when they happen, and that's not a good way to go. And I hope somebody's listening, and hope we'll make a change.
Okay.
But be at Nav Center on Wednesday, because it's gonna be awesome.
We just
awesome.
Hope, we just hope that they're watching, they're listening, and change will just be by the corner. Now, clip one.
Clip one, please. Let's run very quickly. One of the problems we have is water pollution. Last week, we concluded our series on health effects of aircraft noise. We shall proceed this week with other effects, such as water pollution. Significant water pollution is usually generated by airports due to their use and handling of jet fuel, lubricants, and other chemicals. All right. Installation of spill control structures. Joe, this is another thing for you journalists to check out and see if we have some of these things in place. I know a place like Germany, you don't dare let a drop of engine oil drop on the floor. In Germany, it's a taboo. You can go to jail for it. But over here, you see our mechanics drain oil from cars that they are fixing right on the floor, sipping right into the ground, into the water we drink. And no wonder we have a whole lot of kidney failures and all kinds of ailments that shouldn't be. But we need to get serious now. Continuing, I talked about significant water pollution is usually generated by airports due to their use and handling of jet fuel, lubricants, and other chemicals. Installation of spill control structures and other relevant equipment, such as vacuum trucks, portable dams, and absorbents, are therefore necessary to mitigate the impact of spills that usually occur. In cold climates, the use of de-icing fluids also pollute water, as most of the fluids applied to aircraft end up on the ground and are carried to nearby streams and rivers via stormwater runoffs.
Yeah, no, if I should bring this one now, don't push it back to journalists. You are the researcher here.
Go ahead, I'm listening to you, Joe.
Some of those effects that, aviation can cost water, lubricant,
that's correct,
and all of that. Who monitors the proper usage and discharge of this material?
In our own climate, I think it should everything with NCAA, and then of course with assistance of FAN, whose business is also to manage facilities in the airport. All right. So I have just mentioned some of the installations that need to be in place in order to ensure that those chemicals and lubricants and the rest of them don't find their way to our soil. Well, you want to ask, are those there?
Is there any penalty for anyone who break the law?
When laws are broken, there are usually penalties, Joe. But the point is, are we willing to enforce our laws? That's the big question. Are we willing to enforce our laws? Otherwise, the level of lawlessness, as simple as people running red lights on traffic, that is another thing that really runs me very crazy in this country. You drive up to a red light and you stop and you find people on both sides of your car racing through the red light, sometimes threatening other people coming in from the other end that has the green light. Yes, I witnessed one yesterday with my family. It would have been death for all the occupants of the two cars. Because this crazy guy was running a red light and he was doing it as if he was up to some suicide mission at high speed. And the man and his family, who were also probably going to church or returning from one, had green and turning on. You needed to hear the screeching of the brakes. Yeah! The man just struggled and staggered and narrowly escaped making impact with the vehicle. That's crazy. This is going on because no one gets caught, no one gets tickets. The level of lawlessness is just unacceptable, Joe. And we've got to do something about it.
No, but really, in a city like Abuja, we're supposed to have some kind of cameras to monitor those who of course,
cameras that were dead before they were installed.
We're supposed to have them
Joe,
working.
I don't want to talk
all the
about.
time.
I don't want to talk about those cameras because it's one of the very silly things that we had going on in the previous administration. I am privileged to know that some serious-minded organization wanted to give us good quality cameras that would work, but because they won't participate in some of the dirty deals that go on in this climate, they were turned down, only to bring these very useless things that are littered everywhere and are scarcely solving any problem for us. They're absolutely very useless. So
something needs to be done about on that.
Well,
we'll look at it after going through our clips.
That's
now
right. Clip two, please. We're continuing with water pollution. Look at those lovely stuff you find there. How they get wiped away. When we pollute the water and take away oxygen from the water that sustains them. Now, the icing fluids used by airlines are usually based on ethylene glycol and propylene glycol. Joe, take note of these chemicals.
The glycols.
Yes, as the active ingredient. That's the icing fluids. This, by the way, it's more in the cold climate. We do not have ice problem in Nigeria, but then some Nigerian airplanes fly to cold areas. So when they are there, they need to be de-iced. Otherwise, you'll be risking losing altitude and crashing. All right. So studies show that both ethylene glycol and propylene glycol exert high levels of biochemical oxygen demand, usually known as BOD, during degradation in surface waters. This process denies aquatic lives the oxygen required for their survival. And a sample of some of the aquatic lives that this kind of thing waste for us in water are these very lovely things you're seeing in the photograph on the screen. Let's quickly go to clip 3, please, before this time slams itself on our faces.
The glycols. Can we quickly look at the glycols, ethylene glycol and propylene glycol?
Well, I mean, Joe, those are chemical agents that form the main ingredients for producing the icing fluids. Normally in the cold climate, when an airplane is parked, in a few minutes, you find ice building on the wings. Before it sets out to its journey, they must use a pumping hose to pump those chemicals that will quickly dissolve the ice and get them off the wings, because there is a limit to which the wings can keep ice and be able to lift the aircraft into the skies. And so that's not happening here, because we don't have that challenge because of the kind of tropical weather that we have here. But in other climates, as we are approaching the Mba months, October, November, December, it gets really cold and you begin to find snow falling from the skies naturally. And life will, for those of them out there, life will always go on, because they always find solution to every challenge. And so, as the plane is being loaded, ice is busy falling on the wings and settling. But before it gets a pull back and heads out for its journey, they get them out of the way, and then the de-icing equipment that line up, right around the wings and all the movable parts of the airplane will take over.
Yeah, but
to keep it going. The plane has its own, inbuilt de-icing.
Yeah, but I know my elementary knowledge of geography. We're told the higher you go, the cooler it becomes.
Yeah, that's correct. Up to a certain point.
Yes. What happens to the wings?
That's why you have the de-icing, inbuilt de-icing equipment in the airplane. It usually gives power challenges to pilots. So sometimes they turn it off.
In an instance where the de-icing equipment malfunction, can the airplane be safe?
It's absolutely dangerous, Joe, because you may find yourself in a situation. Remember, the ailerons are usually moving, especially when you're in autopilot. They are usually moving in order to keep the plane balanced. As the pressure here changes, one moves, as the pressure on the other side changes. So they just keep. If you look through your window when you're flying next time, try and sit by the wing. You've seen that. They just keep moving. All they are doing is balancing air pressure on the wings in order to keep the aircraft flying smoothly and keeping the passengers comfortable. And then at the rear, right here, Joe, you have your rudder, which gives you the yaw. Gives you the yaw, the rudder here, and somewhere here you have the elevators. Those names are very misleading. They don't really elevate the aircraft. All they do is change the pitch of the aircraft, pitch down, pitch up. Elevations take place on the wings. All right. So those movable parts, if you have ice settle on them and get them stuck, if you are in a negative position with your elevator, in which case it is giving the aircraft a kind of a nose down position, and it gets stuck in that position, you are doomed.
The plane may nose dive.
Yes, you are doomed, because a struggle to get the airplane keep level or ascend becomes, may God help you. All right. So
okay,
that's
now let's go to the last clip.
No, not the last one. Clip three.
We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, we can finish because we have 3 and 4 to go only. Right. Lead emissions. That's another challenge that these airplanes give to us. Okay. Due to increasing use of leaded aviation fuel, lead is released into our air, thereby creating health challenges for humanity. Studies show that lead in the air, when inhaled or ingested, can cause adverse effects on our nervous system, red blood cells, and cardiovascular and immune systems. Joe, this is very serious, isn't it? In children, even low level of lead may contribute to behavioral and learning problems. lower IQ, and autism.
You mean lead can actually do that?
Yes, Joe, it's been proven.
That's serious.
Very serious.
Now to clip 4.
Clip 4, please. Exposure to radiation. Studies have shown that at an altitude of 12 kilometers, which is equivalent of about 39,000 feet above sea level, passengers and crews of jet airliners are exposed to 10 times the cosmic ray dose that people at sea level receive. Within a decade, it is also known that severally, a geomagnetic storm permits a solar particle event to penetrate down to jetliner altitudes. At greater risk are aircraft that fly polar routes near the geomagnetic poles. And the photograph you're seeing there is the reaction of those particles, solar particles, with the air, and how is just a kind of a schematic, artist's impression of what really happens out there. This is not just a photograph, but an artist put it all together to show that when these things meet, this is how they react, and this is how they send those.
Okay. Now a quick analysis on clip 3, where of course we talked about the lead with its effect on human. How can it be?
Yeah, I will urge you to Google lead. Immediately you're out of the studio today. Excuse me. Google it and read and see how deadly and dangerous that mineral is. And over here, we toy around with them. We really haven't done enough to protect ourselves from some of these hazards that are abound on Earth. And you go to some of our northern states, and where such as Zamfara, where else do they carry out mining of some of these solid minerals?
Some years ago, it killed so many of them.
That's correct. And young people get exposed to lead infection and end up losing their lives, or sometimes end up getting mentally useless and stuff like that. And we've got to, there's so much to be done for this nation, Joe. There's so much to be done.
Okay, before we go back to the issue of fan staff who are, of course, planning to shut down Abuja and Lagos Airport because government wants to concession, of course, these airports for better management of airport facilities and ease of doing business.
Joe, we should have actually put the horse before the cart, so that the powerful horse can pull the cart nicely. But we chose to put the cart before the horse. The cat can pull the horse. It's the other way around, always. But now that the mistake has been made, now that the mistake has been made, what we must seek immediately is damage control. It is my hope that one or two of the ministers will be at the NAFSA on Wednesday for the attacker program. It's my sincere hope that one or two of them will be available. And if they do come in, I will see a possibility of getting audience with one of them to share my idea and say, listen, this should have been done before this time and before the threat. But now that the threat is on ground, we still can do some damage control, because it's all about enlightenment. It's all about education, getting the people to understand what we plan to achieve by concessioning the. And by the way, Joe, the language is beginning to confuse people. When you say concession, you're talking about conceding your rights in something that belongs to you. That's all it's all about, Joe. You concede your right to somebody else to carry on a business that belongs to you. Government is not selling the assets to anyone. That's not the meaning. That's not the meaning of concession.
But the fear is when you now move it from your control to another person's control, that man may come.
No, it doesn't follow. That's why
that man may
if you give me one moment, let me quickly help you with that, Joe. Let me quickly help you with that. That's why they need to be enlightened and educated on the issues at stake. The airports still 100% belong to government. 100%. Now, when you are conceding your right and to your
to
asset,
manage the airport,
yes,
to manage the facilities in the airport,
you can give your conditions. If some individual or airliner or corporate entity that's experienced in that field, for instance, if Emirates would come in, I will vote for them 1 million times to help us fix our aviation sector.
Do you know the fear? Do you know the fear in this?
Yeah.
The fear is that some persons may be thrown out of their job.
Joe, that is inevitable if we find, hold on, let me give you the condition. If we find that people were unnecessarily and unduly employed, is one of the things that killed Nigeria Airways in those days. They were busy having over-bloated staff everywhere, people who were doing nothing, who had no job description, and they were just floating, most of them flying from one part of the world to the other free. Each time Nigeria Airways left Lagos or wherever else to London, half of the seats were occupied by non-paying passengers. Those were the issues. You hear all of them come Wednesday, because I'm going to serialize what went wrong with Nigeria Airways, serialize what went right or what's going right.
I must thank you for coming on the show. I really must thank you. But for those who may not be there, let's also do it on Monday. Let's do it.
As a matter of fact, it's my gift to my viewers and the faithful ones that on Monday I would start a series on the presentation that will take place at
that of course is the most we have on this segment of the program this morning on ITV. It has been with the #1 aviation freak in Nigeria, doubles as a licensed estate surveyor and valuer, Mr. Goddy Ike. Of course, he shall be here again to look at what really went wrong with Nigerian Airways. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the program this morning on ITV continues.